We're going to be talking about cybercrime legislation and civil liberties in Africa. And digital economies are expanding across Africa, so as we know, and governments are racing to strengthen cybersecurity laws to combat hacking, online fraud, digital scams, and attacks on critical information system. But as legislation evolves to address new threats and the equally important questions are being raised, how do we secure cyberspace without weakening the very freedoms democratic societies are built upon? And in Namibia, a proposed cybercrime bill has sparked national debate. The Windhoek-based Institute for Public Policy Research has raised concerns that certain provisions in the draft law could infringe on fundamental rights if not carefully defined and safeguarded. The bill reportedly grants expanded investigative powers, including access to electronic data and digital communications, as well as seizure of computer equipment during investigations. Authorities argue the reforms are necessary amid rising cybersecurity incidents, with NAM CSIRT recording over 500,000 vulnerabilities within just 3 months. Critics cautioned that vague definitions and broad powers could risk undermining privacy, freedom of expression, and potentially journalistic or activist work. The conversation reflects a broader trend across the continent as African governments confront the dual challenge of protecting digital infrastructure while preserving civil liberties. So this morning, we asked why or where should the line be drawn between cybersecurity enforcement and constitutional freedom. So to help us unpack this, we'll be having we'll be joined rather by an African Liberty fellow who is a senior analyst as person of Patricia. She's a Sierra Leonean journalist with over 4 years of reporting experience, and she's a mass communication graduate of Fora Bay College, University of Sierra Leone, and currently an LLB student at Nijala University. She reports for Awoko newspaper. Centering lived experiences to strengthen accountability and influence public discourse. Her reporting has earned national and regional recognition, including winning the National Anti-Conflict Awards in 2023, becoming a finalist for the same award in 2024, and emerging as a finalist for the 2025 West Africa Excellence Awards. She also has been selected for the several national and regional fellowships, with her work appearing in international outlets such as El País. Welcome, Patricia. Good to have you join us this morning. Hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, how is Sierra Leone today?
Cool, I can say.
Okay.
Amidst the challenges we are facing, everything is okay.
Okay, it's good to know that everything is okay. Okay, so let's just go straight to the first question we have here. We're talking about looking at the Namibia's proposed cybercrime bill. What really stands out to you in this current form? Are there parts that catch your attention more than others?
So, as I read through the proposed bill, what stands out to me most is that the heavy reliance on vague words. That means words that are not clear enough. Words like visible, necessary, and in the opinion of the minister. These kind of phrases appear harmless. On the surface, they must appear harmless, but deep down, they carry different meaning, and these affect the users online. For Namibia, according to research, with over 3 million people and 8 to 9% of them are illiterate, I believe it is really important to have clear words for cybercrime acts, so that users can actually be aware of what and what to put out there when they are in the online space. Also, the bill gives the executive too much power to carry out exactly what they're doing. And when you look at sections in the different sections in the proposed bill, you can see the minister can actually fire and also consider in his own interpretation what exactly is misinformation and disinformation. So I think the bill is actually power-oriented than people-centered.
Interesting. Power-oriented and people-centered. As a journalist, what do you make of it from your own stance, your own perspective?
As a journalist, I believe this is not good for any democratic state, okay? Because for democracy to actually thrive, there must be checks and balances. So, if to say I have an investigative story that I'm working on, or perhaps I want to critique the government, if I go online and put whatever I believe the government should do that they are not doing, then the government might, in their own eyes, see that as a cyber offense. So that limits my freedom of expression. And for any democratic state, that is not a good thing.
Okay, so this is just a follow-up question before my co-host comes in with a question. But you mentioned that what stood out, and it's clear, it's obvious for everybody when you read that bill, that the use of vague statements was highlighted the most. But why is it important? But I think that, or I thought that it is important to be precise when drafting laws. So I feel like it was precise, but why is it important? Why is it so important to be precise when drafting laws, especially in an area like cybercrime where technology moves so fast? Did you get my question?
So let me just lay the premise in the proposed bill before I answer the question.
Okay.
One problem in the bill is the repeated use of the unclear words. For example, Section 3A allows the minister to make broad and necessary regulations. Necessary is not defined. This gives the minister alone to decide what is necessary without any clear standard. In law, this is dangerous because it allows rules to be created without parliament.
I think we have a little, network has chosen to offend us again. But I think we're back to that. Maybe we were just talking about cyber crime issues and how regulations are very important. And Namibia rolled out a bill as regards cyber crime. And we're seeing what this bill is saying. There's a whole lot of debate about the bill. So people are coming out to say, activists, civil society, citizens, lawyers and whatnot are coming out to say this bill cannot work. They are debating the bill heavily, that it's going to suppress freedom of expression. And people are asking, why should they? So the question is, where should that line be drawn, between cyber security enforcement and constitutional freedom? And everybody wants freedom of speech. But when we look at the social media, what people are doing with social media these days, sometimes I beg to question how at what level is freedom
of speech
which go. How do we define freedom of speech in this time where technology is the in thing? How do we define freedom of speech where social media is the in thing, and where everybody is now to an extent aware? Everybody is very much okay. I think we have Patricia
Okay.
now. Sorry about that, Patricia. Network is not our friend today. Okay. Yes.
So, as I was saying, sorry for that break, similar issues appear in other sections which allow council member to be removed without being given reasonable opportunity or for good reasons for he or she to be removed. The bill, it does not explain what counts as goodwill or how much is reasonable. And this is possible for removal to happen based on personal interest or political motives. And there is a problem when laws do not define these terms. Decision can be made by whoever holds power at the moment. Throughout the bill, especially in Section 18, subsection 1, 9, Section 20, subsection 3F, and other sections. uh,
So many sections.
they are, yeah, the minister or authority, all this section, the minister or authority is allowed to regulate any other matter that is necessary or expedient.
Mm,
The word expedient here means convenient.
mm,
So this is one of the widest legal drafting. It gives permission to regulate almost everything as long as the official believes it is useful.
useful. Mm,
And in cybercrime law, this is risky because it allows new controls over digital systems or, or online behavior without any strong legal balance. So why precision is especially important in cybercrime is because cybercrime laws not target the hackers, the fraudsters. It also affects the ordinary online users, the journalists, the civil society activists. Digital devices are often hard to deal with because they have these technical things in them. In law, it is actually important for people to know what exactly they are playing with. And when there is no clarity, people can just be held liable, be held criminal for things actually they believe the government should be doing, but they are not doing.
mm. Interesting.
All right. Good morning again, and thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here with us. Okay. My question is, what safeguards should ideally be included in cybercrime laws to protect privacy rights?
Cybercrime laws are meant to protect people from online harm,
Okay.
but if they are not clearly written, they can also harm privacy. Ideally, these laws should include strong and clear laws, because I keep emphasizing that the word should be clear because citizens need to know what exactly this word means. Because if you use the word necessary in law, there are other interpretations for it. But if citizens are aware that when you're using this type of particular thing, these and these apply to it, I
Mhm.
believe it's actually important. Also, judicial oversight. The police, they should not be allowed to access citizens' digital gadgets unless a judge approves it. And I will re-emphasize that there should be a clear authority from the judge.
Okay.
Because if the police or any other security personnel decide to interfere into the privacy of ordinary citizens, let me say they are already taking the law into their hands before it reaches the final stage. Also, when it comes to the use of the language, when there is no clarity, everything can be treated as a crime. But a clear wording protects people from arbitrary arrest.
Okay.
Okay, so I think at this point, everyone agrees that, should I say, because I don't think there's anybody that do not enjoy freedom of speech
Exactly.
these days,
Exactly.
especially in this time and age where social media is the in thing. I was just sharing with my
Yes.
co-host. But how do we strike the right balance here between ensuring national security and, upholding constitutional protection? It's coming from your background as a journalist and as a, it's good that your background even strikes that balance first of all, so we'll get a clearer picture of this. So how do you, let me take it again, how do we strike that or the right balance, so to say, between ensuring national security and upholding constitutional protection?
Balancing national security with constitutional protection is not about choosing one over the other. It is about making sure they work together. Of course, the country needs strong security to protect its citizens from cybercrime, online fraud, and others. But it also needs strong constitutional safeguards to protect privacy and free speech and other due process. When security becomes more important than rights, democracy suffers, I believe. And when rights are protected without any security framework, people become vulnerable to crime. The balance comes from careful lawmaking and accountable enforcement. So, for us to have a balance between the two, there has to be a judicial, a strong judicial oversight. This means the police should not access our phones, emails, or private data simply because they suspect a wrongdoing. The judge must approve such actions based on evidence. This will protect the citizens from arbitrary arrest whilst enforcing the law. When the police act, they become the investigators, and this is dangerous in any democracy. Also, there is no way we can go out of clarity. Cybercrime legislation should focus on the real harms, like hacking, fraud, online exploitation, not offensive words like misinformation. When words are broad, when definitions are broad, the government has too much interpretative power. And this is why where constitutional rights begin to erode. Because the people no longer know what is safe. And clear laws protect both the people and the security and freedom of expression. And another thing is all security action should follow the principle of necessity and proportionality. In simple terms, this means authority should not collect the data, so it should only collect the data when it is necessary and only for as long as it is necessary.
Okay. So you've been expatiating really well about it and giving us a clearer look at what cybercrime laws should look like. But it seems to me like, several governments are, have been updating their laws as regards cyber laws whatsoever as regards cybercrime. And it seems to me that in Africa, it's most likely about how should I say it? How you come on social media and what you post on, what citizens post on social media, especially against government bodies and whatnot. But I want to ask, are we starting to see a trend across African countries where cybercrime laws are being used to expand state powers? What's your take on it?
Excuse me, please. I believe the line is breaking. Can you please
Okay.
repeat?
Okay, so I'm trying to pencil what cybercrime laws in Africa in these days looks like. It's most likely when you go on social media, when a citizen go on social media and post something that the government sees as something opposing their will, or their doings, and that's when you begin to see different type of laws coming here and there. So it's like it's a trend now in Africa. We're starting to see that trend across African countries where cybercrime laws are being used to expand state powers. Do you think it is so? What's your take on it?
Yes, I believe there is a pattern from what I'm seeing. It is a growing one across Africa, wherein cybercrime laws are exploiting state powers faster than the protections for citizens' rights. And the data clearly shows it. So, in West Africa, the cybercrime legislation proliferated a lot of things. Across the continent, 72%, that's the Africa, analyzed now has cybercrime laws in place according to the United Nations Trade and Development. This means they are no longer isolated. They are part of a regional, legislative shift that often lacks robust safeguards. Research also shows that these laws frequently have broad provisions that criminalize online activities beyond fraud or hacking, such as publication of misinformation, which creates a legal basis for action against speech that is critical of government and state actors. The Media Foundation for West Africa reported numerous violations of journalists in West Africa, including arrests to social media posting and economic issues in countries like Cote d'Ivoire in 2022. In East Africa, the country has loosely defined offenses of digital oppression. According to Access Now, hashtag Keep It On Coalition, there were 21 shutdowns of internet in 2021, the highest in 15 different countries. So I believe also in Kenya, there is this pattern of the cybercrime laws affecting citizens. So towards at a certain point, civil society organizations and journalists took the government to court for that particular act. So according to research, the law was suspended at some point, but later these pressure groups, including civil societies and journalists, they actually point out that they are still liable for criminal offenses related to cybercrime, yeah, abuses.
Okay, so something that have been of serious concern to me. I want to know if ordinary citizens have a role to play when it comes to when it comes to this type of shaping this type of legislation before it is passed as a bill, then meets our sense and then it is approved.
Yeah, of course, citizens have a role to play, more especially the CSOs and journalists, more especially. So the CSOs, they help point out the risk involved when they are drafting these laws. So they can help to actually point this out by doing consultations, putting out policy briefs, doing research, and actually educating the people that this and what this is this particular act involves a whole lot of things, and this is what the interpretation will look like in the near future. Also, citizens role involves checking the government. That is, when something is not going well, I mean, will tend to create chaos in the future with that particular act. They tend to they will attempt to come out and say, no, this and this is what we are not okay with. There is a need for them to be removed and be replaced with this. So yeah, there's a whole lot of things. As journalists, we can actually go out there, capture the voices of people, tell out the stories, and I believe these government officials do read, they do follow-ups, and they can actually see that, oh, the people are aware that what we are actually doing is not in the favor. So we need to watch ourselves so that even if we are now in government, but in the future when we are out, we can we can be safe in as much as we are the ones who created this particular law.
Hello. Interesting. So to say, their input can really,
Exactly.
help ensure that the law is rather effective and, fair, and also would sort of give that voice to those who, might
Exactly.
otherwise feel like they're left out in the conversation. Very interesting that you've, opened on that. But yeah, Mary, I
Exactly.
think you
So,
have.
well, the question I want to ask here is, what role should civil society and independent? Okay, let's take the next question.
I think
All right. How does digital surveillance intersect with democratic accountability?
For me, digital surveillance can affect democratic accountability are deeply connected, because the moment surveillance interferes without strong oversight,
Okay.
accountability starts to weaken. So digital surveillance gives government the power to access gadgets, monitor social media activities, These tools can help fight crimes, yes, but in a democratic state, power must always come with checks. Digital surveillance can be used quietly without interference into citizens' activities. Citizens don't know who is watching them. So when the surveillance is minimized, then I believe citizens will have the free will to actually express themselves. So in Namibia, the proposed bill gives power to the authorities over data and online content. In Sierra Leone, the Cybercrime Act of 2022 gives investigators access to digital information. But when people's freedom starts to be interfered with, that really raises eyebrow. So in Kenya, as I mentioned earlier, these pressure groups, they challenge that particular act, and well, it was in their favor at the beginning, but even though they are still trying to catch up with it. So I believe the surveillance is really important, but it must not weaken our democratic rights.
Very
All right.
important. I think it's a very tricky issue there, this
Yeah.
particular question, because digital surveillance is becoming more common, especially when we talk about um, monitoring. How monitoring, it helps with monitoring, and how monitoring
Of
can
course. Yeah.
prevent crime. But then we're still looking at the issue of transparency. We're still looking at the issue of some oversight. We're still looking at um, um, some of these things are very key towards how citizens will trust
Exactly.
the system. But going away from that, so because we don't want to spend much time here, you've said a lot so far, but we want to look ahead. And we want to look ahead right now. What principles should guide African nations as the draft or amend cybercrime law to ensure that it is fair and also it is effective? Because I think the law is not, or the goal is not just to create laws.
Laws.
The goal is to create laws that encourages innovation. On Idea TV here, we encourage innovation. We advocate seriously for innovation. So we are looking at the ways we can, encourage innovation and also fundamental rights of people. That's the ultimate balancing act. So what do you think are what principles should guide African nations as they draft and amend cybercrime laws?
Having already explained the principles, I will close by re-emphasizing the path forward for cybercrime laws is complicated, not mysterious.
Okay.
The foundation must be made right-centered. That means laws should protect people as much as it protects the digital systems. The cybersecurity concerns are legitimate, but they must be balanced with the outset of privacy, freedom of expression, due process, the strong judicial oversight. I mean, independent, the judiciary should be independent, and inclusive participation. Then we can get real accountability. These are not just the abstract, they are practical safeguards that can determine cyber laws serve democracy or quietly weakens it. There is a proverb, an African proverb that says, that actually speaks why caution and responsibility matter. So you cannot test the waters with the depth of your feet. African countries should not rush into expansive cybercrime laws without strong safeguards.
I think we'll hold that. That's a very
Exactly.
strong ending. I think we'll hold that very close, and we'll not put that in our pocket. We'll put it in
Yes.
our phone so that we can see it and always remind
Of course.
ourselves of that. But we're continuing this conversation. Is not going to end here, but for today, we are going to end here, and we want to say a very big thank you, Patricia Sia Endeavor. I've been avoiding pronouncing that name, so I don't murder your name. Hope I got that correctly. Hope I got that correctly.
That's right.
I tried. Okay. Okay. Hope to speak with you some other time as regards this. Let's see where the bill in Namibia takes us to and what other African countries are going to do about theirs. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasant time with you. Okay,
Thank you.
Mary, we are still navigating and testing waters to see where the digital world takes us. So this
Exactly.
conversation around cybersecurity and
Exactly.
civil liberties will only grow more urgent because we are in a digital world.
Definitely.
What do I always used to say? Our futures are written in code, and the
Yes.
future is now. If
It's
it, we're
now.
not looking at the future somewhere, the future
Of
is now.
course, the future
But
is
you know
now.
that you can join this conversation if you want to reach out to the African Liberty Fellow who joined us. You can send your questions under the comments section and we'll send it to her so she can answer those questions. And another time we can have her on the Idea Morning Digest. But now let's go on a quick break so we come back and see what's trending on social media.